Allegations of sabotage on Wagner plane. Transport plane exploded on the runway. The states have tried many methods to ensure their security in historical process, especially during the Cold War period. There were great tensions between the USA and USSR in the bipolar world. In the bipolar situation of the world, the effectiveness of the states as actors decreased. However, different actors emerged. The most effectively used actors today are private military companies, which are non-state actors but in close contact with states. Wagner, a Russia's private military security company, has become a company known all over the world. Wagner's story became known to everyone, especially after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The developments in the recent days have begun to interest everyone, wondering in which direction Wagner will continue its work. Following Wagner leader Yevgeny Prigozhin's open rebellion against Russian President Vladimir Putin, the Wagner Group was targeted by the Moscow administration. Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner Group, openly voiced his reactions and criticisms of the Kremlin's war management. However, his courage was perceived as a threat by the Kremlin. In the wake of these developments, Prigozhin was executed in mysterious circumstances. Prigozhin, whose plane mysteriously crashed on his way back to Russia from Africa, was executed and Wagner Group was left in the middle. Although there were some calls from the Moscow administration to the soldiers of the Wagner Group, the real goal was interpreted as the complete destruction of Wagner. An airplane carrying Wagner members mysteriously caught fire and exploded while landing on a runway in Africa recently. Now, if you're ready, let's examine the mysteriously burning Wagner plane and the developments together. A video shared on social media recently was watched by thousands of people in a short time. In the shared video, there were images of an imprint belonging to the Russian Wagner private military company burning. According to the information obtained, the Wagner transport plane landing at an airport in Mali started to catch fire during landing for an unknown reason. While the flames could not be brought under control for a long time, explosions occurred on the plane. The plane in the video, which was evaluated by experts, was identified as a Soviet-era Ilyushin Tu-76 model. The plane, which has started to fall apart as landed at Gao Airport in the West Africa, then turned into a huge ball of flames. According to local sources, those on board were soldiers from the Wagner Group in Mali. This information was confirmed by sources linked to Russia's security services. The Ilyushin 76 is a multi-purpose, fixed-wing, four-engine turbofan strategic aircraft usually used to deliver heavy machinery to remote, unreserved areas. The reason for sending vehicle to this type to the area was to deliver weapons and ammunition to the troops there. However, no detailed information was given about the work of the Wagner Group soldiers in the area. Everyone was eagerly waiting to see whether the Wagner Group would continue to work with the Kremlin after the Prigozhin assassination. The Wagner military group provided security services in some parts of Africa. While providing security services in these regions, it also maintained close ties with Russia. It provided the Kremlin with critical links and opportunities to the continent's rich resources. However, after the execution of the Wagner leader Prigozhin, the situation in the region became complicated. There are many allegations about the extent of the Wagner Group's relations with the Russian government. The Kremlin had made some statements about the pacifications of the Wagner Group. For this reason, it was thought that the relations between the Kremlin and the Wagner Group had reached a breaking point. Following this news that emerged, we told you about the difficulties experienced by the soldiers of the Wagner Group in the African region. Since the soldiers of the Wagner Group are mercenaries, they have to do jobs that can cover their living expenses. But after the tensions with the Moscow government, Wagner soldiers started to experience economic difficulties. The Wagner Group, which carries out Russia's work in Africa, had common interest with the Kremlin government. But after the latest incident, the Kremlin is thought to be involved. The Kremlin, which wants to reduce the power of the Wagner in Africa, is trying to increase its influence in the region. The scandalous explosions of a transport plane carrying ammunition and weapons belonging to the Wagner Group has raised questions. Many allegations were made after the news came to the fore. However, according to local sources, the mercenaries affiliated with the Wagner Group complained about the situation. This is thought that the Kremlin is trying to replace the Wagner Group with a new organization in place of the Wagner Group with a reapproachment and exclude the Wagner Group in the region. The Kremlin government, which had a hard time on the Ukrainian front with the liquidation of the Wagner Group, had driving different groups to the front. Russian troops who lost the gains of the Wagner group in Ukrainian counterattacks in a very short time are very complaining about the absence of the Wagner group on the front. The Wagner group was quite different from the recruits, as it was composed of professional soldiers. With the death of the Wagner leader Prigozhin, there were many disintegrations within the group. While some of the soldiers of the Wagner went to different countries, some of them started to work to avenge Prigozhin. After the Wagner plane crashed in Africa, the extent of the tension between Wagner and the Kremlin was revealed. No statement was made by the Russian authorities about the Wagner plane. However, there were a huge controversy about the photograph published in the past days. Russian authorities made statements on the subject. The administration of Yanol district in the Republic of Bashkortostan in Russia had published a photograph showing that Arthur Sultangaliev, a soldier from the Dostonolov battalion, received a medal for participating in war. However, there were many reactions that the photo was not real. After this issue came to the agenda, Russian authorities made a statement on the subject. It was determined that the published photo was taken in the past days. However, it was explained that the soldier in question was dressed in camouflage by montage because he was photographed in shirt and sleepers. The soldier whose medal was presented was wounded in a clash the other day and died afterwards. After Arthur Sultangaliev was wounded in the clash and then lost his life, many news posts were shared to commemorate him. Stage photographs were also circulated at the time. The photo was removed from official channels following the criticisms from people who identified the stage photo. But it's still circulating on the internet. Russian authorities also shared the issue by making such statements upon the reactions. However, one of the reasons for the criticisms was that Russia had carried out such actions for propaganda purposes many times during the war. Since the beginning of the war, Moscow has not shared enough information about the both war casualties and suspicious death, and has continued to generate speculations. For this reason, it was a target of the intense criticisms. How do you interpret the suspicious burning and the explosions of the Wagner plane? What do you think about the Wagner's work in Africa means for Russia? How do you assess the developments between Wagner and the Kremlin? How do you assess the Ukrainian counterattack? We care about your views. Please share it with us.